Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Adham. I'm from AB 3.83. Today I want to talk about 7 ways smartphone can actually improve your life. So, there has been a lot of bad press about the adverse effect of smartphone. But hardly ever, the positive ones having grown up in era without mobile, telephone or smartphone. Someone in my age bracket can clearly identify the bad and ugly. True, it's annoying hearing a phone ring in a restaurant, but it's only too familiar seeing a group of people staring at their smartphone instead of talking to each other. Instead of listening to the apparent benefit, let's see how smartphone can really make your life better. The smartphone can brighten up your life in many ways if you use it right. Let's take a look 7 ways a smartphone can brighten your life and make it better. First, cheap testing and video calls. Means for now, for the testing and video call you can get free. For the past, you need to use your credit. But right now, for the testing and video call, you can get free. So it's more easier for everyone. So testing has gone from cheap to free with the help of apps like WhatsApp, Viber, Skype, Google, Hangout, Telegram, FaceTime, Facebook, Messenger, and all. The same goes for phone calls and video conferencing. Using one of the above bring down the cost of phone and video calls. This is a considerable advantage for individuals and businesses alike. Human connectivity that closes and much more effort. We need close relationships in order to be happy. And the smartphone certainly bring people closer together, especially if they're a long distance away from each other. You can even force a relationship online with your smartphone. Second, research on the move. Research of the move means you can research anything you want at Google, Wikipedia. So means another significant advantage the smartphone offers the ability to research while on the move. For instance, if you happen to be searching for a hotel, restaurant, or want to buy something, you can Google and search for any item or service. And it can be done there and then. Google Maps will then show you the exact route. Third, reach your fitness goals. Reach your fitness goals means the smartphone can guide you more healthy. Means fitness goals are achievable with your smartphone. There are several dedicated apps. So the apps can guide you be more healthy. You can use the activity apps, workout apps to achieve your fitness goals. You can reach your fitness goals and your smartphone will help you with it. Using a fitness app can help you improve your exercise habit. To assist you to produce more endorphin, which is the happy chemical that the brain releases during exercise. Your smartphone can calculate your daily walking distance. Fourth, relieve stress for inputs. After you work, you can relieve your stress. Use your smartphone. Study have found that small bursts of 5 minutes or less on social media actually lead to relaxations and relief stress, spreading to long lead to lower productivity. But everyone needs a few minutes break during an 8-hour working day. 20 minutes break on social media out of 8 or 9 hours at work is actually beneficial. It can help employees recover from some of the work stress to refresh their mind and take a mental break. Fifth, learn to meditate every time. You can use your smartphone and you can learn meditate your mind. Your smartphone can teach you to meditate and help you relax. There are many meditations apps. One can download, however, merely doing a search with multiple meditation sound videos, and audiobook can also help you meditate once. Means you can listen your song, video, you can stream your video and meditate your mind and relax your minds. So, including a story and increase the concentration is very great and harmful stress that been weighing you down over the years. Social media make you envious. So, social media means if you have social media like Instagram, Facebook, you can create your memories. So, if you create your memories, you can make your life more happier. Scrolling through your Facebook feed, that's how everyone else are definitely is not happy. Studies suggest social media can also boost your happiness. Somehow, people feel more loved and worthy after visiting their Facebook profile and new feeds, as long as you don't overdo it. Social media can help you express gratitude more regularly and connect with a positive and supportive community playground parent and repeatedly set their phone from them joy. If they are used in the right manner, smartphone can be an enjoyable way to pass a few minutes and connect with other people. 7. Keep you safe. Smartphone has the GPS that track you and most. So means if you are walking home alone at night through a dark avenue, our bad part of time is not as dangerous as it was 50 years ago. Your smartphone has an inbuilt tracking device besides they are useful and such as PC, which have additional unique features like the Follow Me like GPS tracks, which lets your friend and family know where you are if you need help. Phone functions. Also worth a mention, smartphone can detect upward as the phone has an full micro electromechanical system we call MEMS accelerometer, which track your movement and also keep your map route in the right directions. They also give sight and bring information to the living world. Smartphone and tablet can be used as textbook replacement along with being used for lessons. It is especially useful for the developing world and discuss the way which costly textbook. We can quickly forget the palm-sized smartphone device can pack more computer power than a spaceship and all the visit of the past. Smartphone can improve our life in many ways. Never thought it existed. So I have the video. You can check the video and enjoy my last video. Thank you.
Thinking back, this was magic at the time.
Steve Jobs and his team really believed that they had a revolutionary product on their hand.
People are now walking around with supercomputers in their pockets.
When the iPhone was first released, no one knew for sure just how much it would change the way we communicate. 10 years later, it's clear this pocket-sized device has an enormous impact on the world.
I think people understood that the iPhone was going to be an important project, but I don't think anybody understood how revolutionary it was going to be 10 years out.
Fred Vogelstein wrote a book about the competition between Apple and Google and how their budding rivalry pushed the limits of what people thought a smartphone was capable of.
The iPhone not only has changed how we entertain ourselves and how we communicate, but it's also in the process of changing a slew of other industries. It's hard to imagine our lives without one of these things in our pockets.
Now, roughly 80% of American adults own a smartphone. Think about how much of your day is dependent on that device. How you travel, the games you play, the media you consume, how you share your life with others, what you buy, and how you pay for it.
I don't think people truly grasped how revolutionary the ability to access, buy, consume, communicate anytime, anywhere has been given to them as a result of a smartphone, and specifically the role iPhone played in defining this market.
Technology consultant Tim Beheron has been covering consumer tech since before the first Mac was even announced.
In the fall of 2006, there was a lot of word that started to leak out that Apple was doing a phone. And the hype, to be honest with you, became very, very high. Some people even called it the Jesus phone. Palm Trio opened the door for the concept of a smartphone. What Apple did, though, is refine it.
But the undeniable success of the iPhone today was not always obvious to everyone.
The old school at that time, the Steve Ballmers at Microsoft, it was very clear. He said this was never going to fly.
$500 fully subsidized with a plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard.
A lot of them felt Apple had done really well with the iPod, but they were still a computer company.
First adopters were excited by the sleekness of the technology, but according to financial analyst Gene Munster, initial sales were not fantastic.
There were expectations on that opening weekend that the iPhone would just crush it. And in fact, they didn't sell very many iPhones on that opening weekend, 270,000.
It wasn't until the introduction of the App Store that Wall Street began to acknowledge the iPhone's market potential.
There's an app for just about anything.
They began bringing developers in. All of a sudden, we started to get thousands and thousands of apps to today where we've got over 2 million apps for the iPhone and iOS. That's what really started causing the iPhone to take off.
Apple sold more than 1 million units of the third-generation iPhone in the first weekend of its release. The App Store paved the way for new methods of doing business. Companies like Uber, Airbnb, Snapchat, and Instagram might not even exist without it.
The iPhone now is about 60% of Apple's revenue. So this has been a transformative product at the core.
By 2016, the company sold 1 billion iPhones around the globe. But of course, Apple wasn't the only company to bring smartphones to the world.
Android is 80% and iPhone is about 20% of the smartphone market. One of the things that the competition between Apple and Google did was it made the smartphone business much better for consumers. I think that both companies pushed each other really hard, and I think the innovation accelerated exponentially as a result of that.
Their innovative smartphone technology has also brought internet access to huge sections of the world that may not have been connected otherwise.
The majority of people in India, for example, do not have a desktop computer or a laptop. You go to parts of Asia, you go to parts of Africa, and a big part of South America, the smartphone is the device that they use to connect to the internet and use for communication. By 2020, we'll sell between 3 and 3.5 billion smartphones worldwide, getting close to 2/3 of the planet.
Massively disruptive, for better and worse.
I go out and I see people, entire families, huddled around their devices. I mean, the kids have tablets, mom and dad have their phones, and you just see the glowing faces, all just sitting around ignoring each other. And I don't know that that's what we wanted to build.
Andy Grignon was part of the team that invented the iPhone.
On the serious side effect, billboards say don't text and drive because people die. They're so fixated on using their phone.
American smartphone owners check their phones more than 9 billion times a day collectively. That's 47 times a day per person. For 18 to 24-year-olds, 82 times a day.
Let's make the most connected thing ever that turns people into zombies. I was at the U2 concert last week. You just see this sea of screens. Now I know they're not all iPhones, but I think it's neat to see people capturing the moments in their lives. It's a way to remember and to connect. So you take the good and the bad.
Negative or positive, the iPhone is clearly one of the most transformative consumer products in history, changing how we talk, work, and live. And it's only been a decade.
Apple brought a revolution to the market with the iPhone that has impacted across every industry and every life. We're only 10 years into this journey.
I think it's changed society. I'd like to think it's for the better. I think there are times when I fixate on the times when it's not for the better, but I'm happy the product is what it is today.